Hi, thank you for joining me for lesson 7. We're getting ready for Shabbos here, so ignore any distractions that might be going on. We'll stay focused on the lesson. All right, we've got three mitzvahs that we're going to learn today, and two of them are negative, one's positive. So we're going to learn negative commandment number 63 and negative commandment number 65 and positive commandment number 172. And you might be asking, why are we jumping around? We haven't done this many lessons. We certainly haven't gotten up to negative 63. Well, we're not going in order. If you pick up a copy of Sefer HaMitzvos, a lot of the copies that are out there that aren't moving this around so that it fits a lesson structure, it's going to be going +1, -1. It's going to be going through them numerically, whereas we're kind of jumping around because these are going according to the order as they appear in Mishnah Torah, which is the much more encyclopedic collection of all of the mitzvahs, whereas we're going through a digest version of them all. All right, so negative commandment number 63 is the commandment against desecrating the name of God. So Leviticus 22, verse 32, Vayikra, says, "And you shall not profane my holy name." And this sounds a lot like the positive commandment that we had, which was to sanctify the name of Hashem, and that's true. This is a negative commandment, and even though they both seem to have a lot of crossover, there is going to be some things that we derive specifically from the negative version. But remember, a negative version may play out a little bit differently than a positive commandment. All right. So, what this means is we're commanded not to desecrate God's name. And there are three different ways that this mitzvah is applied: martyrdom, sins of spite, and behavior befitting a Torah scholar. So, martyrdom, we've talked about this, we talked about it yesterday. If there's a tyrant or an oppressive government that arises and sets a goal to eradicate Judaism and the Torah, we're commanded to lay down our lives, to allow ourselves to be martyred, rather than to deviate from any Jewish law or even custom. And at all times, we're obligated to be killed rather than to transgress three constant commandments, what we call cardinal sins here: idolatry, murder, and certain kinds of sexual sins, such as adultery, incest, homosexuality, etc. So, one who allows themselves to be martyred under these circumstances has sanctified God's name, and one who transgresses has desecrated God's name. And we said before that this would be applicable to what my friend Peter Baruch says. He refers to them as B'nai Malchut. If you consider yourself a disciple, if you are a disciple of Yeshua of Nazareth, and you've placed your allegiance with him, then according to the apostles, you also must be willing to lay down your life for Hashem. Now, this mitzvah, or this mitzvah in this context, does not have a punishment. So if you were to, under duress, if you're being forced to commit a sin, rather than or to be a martyr rather than to commit a certain sin. But let's say you were weak in that moment, and you did not allow yourself to be killed. It is a grave sin, but we don't punish sins that are done under duress. We punish a sin when you are doing it with intent, and so there is not an intent in that case. In fact, you're not wanting to do it at all. You'd rather not. Um, but it is nevertheless, according to Rambam in Mishnah Torah, he says, and in other texts here, that it is a grave sin. Sins of spite is the second application. So one who transgresses God's command, not for pleasure, but because they're doing it out of spite. They just like they could care less about God, and so they're going to go and they're going to do something, anything that's a sin against Hashem. That is chilul Hashem. That is profaning God's name, and that is a sin. That is breaking this negative commandment. And number three, behavior befitting a Torah scholar. The third application. So if there's a certain way of behavior that is befitting someone who is a godly person, or as we word here, a Torah scholar, and you're going against that, even though that thing might not be a sin, but it looks like a sin, that is considered a chilul Hashem, and that could also be applied in lots of different ways. One example that's brought up by the sages is if it's considered godly behavior to go to the butcher and pay for your meat immediately rather than getting it on credit, then if you're a Torah scholar and you go there and you get your meat on credit, then that's a chilul Hashem. Somebody sees you doing that, and they think, this guy is not doing the right thing. That is a chilul Hashem. So that is breaking this negative commandment. All right. Second commandment that we're looking at today is not to destroy a place of worship. So we're talking about the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, for instance. So Deuteronomy 12:4 says, "This you shall not do to the Lord your God." So there are commandments to destroy the places of worship that were given to the Jewish people, and specifically like in the land there, as far as I know. But we'll get into that more. But to destroy the places of worship there. However, it says, "But you're not to do this to the Lord your God." And so that means we're forbidden from destroying God's houses of worship or any of the utensils used there, such as the altar or any other part of the sanctuary. And that includes defacement, actually, of any of the books of the prophets or erasing any written name of God. So there's a lot more that can be said about that. And if you read those chapters in Mishnah Torah, I believe it's chapters 7 to 9, you will learn a lot more about that. What does it mean not to erase the name of God? So that's definitely worth something worth talking a little bit more about. And the third positive commandment that we're going to look at today is, you shall listen to the prophet. So Deuteronomy 18:15 says that if there is a prophet of Israel that is known to be a prophet or has been shown to be a prophet, that we are commanded to listen to them. And how do we know that they're not a false prophet? If they're a false prophet, They're going to command you to do something different than what the Torah or what even the traditions have said. They command you to do differently, um, and they command you to do so differently for all time. Like they say, no, this command is now gone for good. That's going to be somebody you should count as a false prophet, and you're not to worry about them. However, let's say a true prophet of God says, we're going to set up an altar here, and we're going to make sacrifices, and we know that there's a command that says not to make sacrifices outside of the temple itself, the holy temple. Um, so that happened. That happened in Tanakh, and that was permitted in those certain cases, because Hashem commanded those things at that time. Um, so a true prophet can make a decree to prophesy in the name of Hashem, saying to transgress a command of Hashem. Um, but if they do so, it's only for a temporary time or season. It's not going to be something that's forever, because, as we know, the Torah is binding upon Israel until the heaven and earth pass away. So that is the final mitzvah that we're going to discuss today, and we will be back after Shabbos with covering the mitzvahs that we'll be learning tomorrow. So I encourage you to continue studying on your own every single day. But I will be back. I intend to be back with God's help after Shabbat with a class as soon as I can. All right. Have a great Shabbos and be blessed in every way. Bye bye.